Hey guys, I know I got a little behind on videos. I apologize for that. Things have just been changing faster than I can keep up with them here, both with the stay-at-home order and adding my girls into the mix and trying to get this done, and things at school and meetings I've had to be part of just to try to stay on top of things. I do greatly apologize, as y'all's questions are extremely important to me. I've tried to reply through email best I could to stay on top of it, but I know I've gotten behind on my videos. So I'm starting here. I will get Unit 6 posted right behind this one and get that called up, and then backtrack as needed for any others that I've missed and haven't gotten questions to. Do remember that on that sheet I've shared with you with the assignments, there are links to videos where some of our other teachers have wandered through videos as well. Please feel free to use those. Please feel free to look them up on YouTube as well. Math is Power, Khan Academy, all of those have great videos as well, and all of our assignments are titled by topic, keywords, so that you're able to search for those if you need to. So please don't hesitate. If I've been too slow with something, don't hesitate to look it up, but don't hesitate to contact me either. You are not bothering me in any way, shape, or form. Please continue to send your questions. As I said, I've tried to answer them as quickly as I could, so if I haven't answered fast enough, I am sorry. But as I said, I've been trying to do it just as fast as I can. Coming up here, we do have Easter break. That is something that you guys get to keep. So during that time, take time off. Don't worry about schoolwork. Don't worry about that stuff. I mean, feel free to work on it if you want to, but take that time off. I'm going to take that time off as well. Go outside. Spend some time with your family. Do something fun. As I know there have been a lot of stuff that's been kind of crazy, and I know we won't be on the off the stay-at-home order by then, so you'll have to find something fun to do at home, but seriously, try to find something to do that you enjoy, so that you've got that time. All right, diving into this, I've had several of you ask about midpoint. First off, remind you, midpoint is just an average of your x values and an average of your y values, and you give them as ordered pair. So x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2, and it's an ordered pair. Sorry about that. You'll get your new ordered pair from that. So let's take number 1 here. Crud. Sorry, that's right there at where my hand goes. I apologize for the page jump, guys. So that is 10, 10, and 5, negative 3. This is problem number 1. So what we're going to do is that's x1, y1, x2, y2. What we're going to do is we're going to take our x's and we're going to take an average of them. So we're going to start with the x values here. So we got 10 plus 5 divided by 2. And then we're going to take our y values, and we're going to take 10 plus negative 3 divided by 2. And yes, you can treat that just like subtracting and not write it as plus minus, or plus negative 3. You could write that as just 10 minus 3, since there's a minus sign there. It's just not a bad idea to get in that habit. And remember, if you don't have your calculator, Desmos is available. Don't forget about that. Also, if you have an Android phone, get pen here, sorry, over to the side, Wabbit MU is a free TI calculator for your Android phone. I'm sorry, Apple people, they've got some free graphing calculators, but nothing that's just directly a TI. This Wabbit MU that is for that's free anyway. I haven't gone into the paid ones for Apple. For Android, the Wabbit MU is free. Download it, and it is a TI calculator just like you're used to using in class. It's the exact same thing. Walks you through how to set those up. So sorry about that plug there. I know I got a little got a little sidetrack there, but wanted to put that in there in case you're having trouble with calculators. So what we're going to do, top first. So we're going to do 10 plus 5, which is 15, divided by 2 is 7.5. So I've got 7.5, comma. And then I'm going to do 10 plus 3, which is 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So 3.5, and that is my midpoint in parentheses. So that's my final answer, 7.5, comma 3.5. And that's all midpoint is. Add the x values, divide by 2. Add the y values, divide by 2. Remember, you need to two-step this in your calculator. If you're doing this in your calculator, let's see if I can slide all this stuff out of the way. Not easily, no. Hang on one second. Over here in green, if I'm going to do this in the calculator, I need to do it as 10 plus 5 equals 15, and then take and do 15 divided by 2 divided by 2. I can't write, goodness gracious. Equals 7.5. And type it in your calculator that way and do it two separate ones, because if not, it's going to divide by 2 and it's going to do 5 divided by 2 and then add 10, and you'll get the wrong answer. It seems like a simple thing to do, but you really need to do that one in 2 steps or you'll get the wrong answer on all of them. So just really caution you on that to make sure you're careful. All right, give me a second. Let me clear this. All right, so the next section is to give you the endpoint and a midpoint. I wanted you to find the other endpoint. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to take the midpoint x, multiply it by 2, and then subtract the endpoint x. And then you're going to do the same thing with the y values. You're going to do midpoint y times 2 and subtract the endpoint y. And this is the exact opposite of finding the midpoint. You're literally undoing the midpoint to find the other endpoint. So if I'm looking at number 11 down here, I'm going to have 0, negative 9 for my endpoint. And then I have negative 6, 3 for my midpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my midpoint x, so negative 6 times 2, which gives me negative 12. I'm going to take that negative 12 and subtract my endpoint x, which is 0, which gives me negative 12. So there's my x value. So this is my end x. Now I'm going to take my midpoint y, which is 3, times 2, which gives me 6. And I'm going to take that 6 and subtract my endpoint y, which is minus negative 9, which if I've got a double negative like that, I'm subtracting a negative is like adding. That's going to give me 15. 15, that is my end y. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a set of parentheses, and that's going to be negative 12, 15. And that's it. That's all there is to midpoint and endpoint. There's no way to make that any harder with that. It's just straight average of your x's, average of your y's, and then take your, to find your endpoint, you multiply the midpoint by 2 and subtract the endpoint. And it's always like that. Again, if you have follow-up questions with those, or if you're struggling, let me know and I will be glad to help you out with that. But let's look at our next section. You'll get your... all right, this one's a little more of a challenge, and you've got to remember that parallel lines have the same slope. Same slope. And that perpendicular lines have the opposite reciprocal slope. That means flip it upside down and change the sign. So you got to remember this before you dive into the rest of it. What we're going to do first for number 1 is we're going to find our parallel and perpendicular slopes that we're going to need. So let me move those out of the way. You might want to record those somewhere if you need to, just so you've got that, so you can look at it as you're solving these and not have to go back with the video over and over again. Feel free to pause that and record those, but I'm going to clear those out of the way, so give me a second. So we're going to look at number 1, and for parallel slope is going to be the same slope. And you remember slope is m, so it's that number right in front of the x. So in this one, the parallel m is going to equal to 5. And notice I didn't put that on the line because we're going to use that to find our answer, not to, that's not our actual answer there. And then same thing with perpendicular. I'm still going to that 5, but you remember it's opposite reciprocal. Reciprocal means flip it upside down. So if I've got 5 over 1, that's going to get flipped and be 1 over 5. Opposite means to change the sign. It's currently positive. I'm going to switch it to negative. So my perpendicular m is going to be negative 1/5. Now that I have my slopes, what I've got to do is plug it into y equals mx plus b. And I've got, so I can get my new equation. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go over here to the side. I'm going to say y equals mx plus b. Now, they give me over here in the original problem. They give me a point. That point is an x value and a y value. They give me m's that I'm dealing with over here that I'm finding with the parallel and perpendicular. I'm going to ignore the original m now. I'm not paying attention to that at all. So for the parallel line, I'm going to use the parallel m. For the perpendicular line, I'm going to use the perpendicular m. So I'm going to have to actually do this twice to find the parallel equation, and then one again to find the perpendicular equation. So when I'm going to do y equals mx plus b, the y value I got over here was -1. So I'm going to put that in. So -1 equals m, which this case I'm using the parallel m because I'm going to do parallel first. You can do it in either order, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to do parallel first. So 5 parenthesis, just because it makes my life a little easier. I'm going to go over to my x value over here, which is a 0 plus b. And I leave b a different color there just to show we haven't plugged anything in for it. We don't know what that is yet. We're trying to find it. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve that. So 5 times 0 first. So -1 equals 5 times 0 is 0 plus b. Now 0 plus anything is just itself. So in this one it works out to be nice in that b equals -1. Now I have an m and I have a b for parallel. So what I can do is I can actually write my equation now. I'm going to plug that in. So y equals mx plus b. M was 5x. Here, let's change colors on the things that we're plugging in. So 5x plus b. B is the -1. You notice I had plus -1. I can leave it there, or I can go ahead and change it to the way I'm used to seeing it and just write it as -1. Either one of those works. It's whichever one your brain processes easier. I'm not too strict on it right now because I think most of you, if you saw plus -1 and then you had an answer choice that was -1, you'd recognize the two. If we were in class and going over this, I'd be a little more strict with that, but especially from a distance, if you're getting the basic process, I'm going to be happy with this. Okay? So that one was the parallel one. There we go. I was trying to box that off. This is parallel m. So let's take a look at my perpendicular m. So I still got y equals mx plus b. And so I'm going to plug in. I'm going to use the same x and y I did before. I'm just going to change what m I'm using this time. So my y that I had over here, my y, I've got -1 equals. This time I'm changing my m. And this m I've got over here is the perpendicular m's -1/5. So I've got -1/5. Parentheses, my x value, again from over here, is 0. So I got times 0 plus b. And again, I'm leaving that b a different color just to show we haven't plugged anything in for yet. We're trying to find that. And I'm going to solve it just like I did the last one. So I'm going to multiply that. So I get -1 equals 0 plus b. And again, this one happens to work out to be 0 there. So anything plus 0 is just itself. And I get b equals -1. This one is an oddity in that they're the same equation except for the m. That does not normally happen. And I'm going to actually go over one more here just to show you that the perpendicular and parallel b's are not always the same. Please do not think because I did the first example they were the same. They're always the same. That is not the case. So please, 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 please don't assume they are. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back up to my perpendicular up here that I'm trying to write it in. And I'm going to write in what I've got. So y equals, and then I had my perpendicular m I was using. This is my m on this one. So that's -1/5. Sorry about that jump there. I don't know what that was. -1/5 x. And then again, -1. You could write plus -1. I'm not too terribly concerned which way it goes there. But those are your two equations. All right, I'm going to do one more here. It's that same setup. We're going to find our parallel perpendicular slopes, and then we're going to plug it into y equals mx plus b, just like we did on both of those, and find b. We're going to solve for b both times, and then plug it in. And I know that's a lot of steps, but you've got the video here. You can watch more. There's videos also posted on that link, reminding you again, the main assignments page has links of other teachers working through assignments as well. So make sure you take care, use all your resources that you need. All right, so similar thing on number 2. We're going to set this up. We're going to have our X and Y right there. First thing we're going to do is we're going to find our parallel M. So M is right here, which is 2, and parallel M's are going to be the same. So our parallel M equals 2. Then we're going to find our perpendicular to M. You remember, perpendicular is opposite reciprocal, so we're going to flip it upside down. So if I've got 2 over 1, I'm going to flip that upside down, and I get 1 over 2. If you're wondering where I got the 2 over 1, I did the same thing up here in 5, didn't explain it. Anytime I've got a whole number, all I have to do is put it over 1 to make it a fraction. That makes it a lot easier for us to flip upside down. So now I've got 1/2. That's the reciprocal. I got to do the opposite, which tells me to change the sign. So I'm going to change the sign from positive to negative. So my perpendicular M is equal to negative 1/2. Now I've got that. What I'm going to do is go over here to the side. I'm going to say my parallel M is the first one I'm working on. So I've got Y equals MX plus B. And I'm going to plug in the X and Y they gave me. So they gave me the Y value of negative 3. And again, that's over here from the original problem. They gave me negative 3 equals M, which is the parallel M I'm dealing with here. So that's negative 2. Remember, I'm doing one at a time. So I said negative 2. It's positive 2. My parallel M is positive 2. Sorry about that. X, which is the X they gave me over here, which is 4. Plus B. And again, I'm leaving the B a different color because that's what we're trying to find. We don't know what that is yet. We didn't plug anything in for it. So just like we did before, we're going to solve this first. So I get negative 3 equals 2 times 4 is 8 plus B. Now this one being a little bit different because that wasn't 0, so I got to do the opposite operation. This is positive, so opposite operation would be negative or minus to move it to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. That cancels out, and I get B equals negative 11. So this is for my parallel M. That is going to be B. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to plug in. So Y equals M, which is the parallel M I was dealing with. X, sorry about the stutter again. Plus B, or in this case, it's going to be minus 11 because B is negative. So plugging in those things where we got them, just like I did before. Next one here, we're going to do our parallel, or our perpendicular M. So our perpendicular M, again, we're using Y equals MX plus B. So we're going to plug in what they gave us. So they get same X and Y we used before. So it's actually going to look exactly the same as our other equation. The only thing that's going to change is the M. So this 2 right there is actually going to be a negative 1/2 this time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug that in. So negative 3 was the Y value they gave us, equals negative 1/2, which is my perpendicular M, times X, which is 4, plus B. And again, leaving that a different color because we didn't plug anything in for it. So I'm going to solve that again. Negative 3 equals negative 1/2 of 4 would be negative 2 plus B. Now I've got to solve by doing opposite operation. So I'm going to move it to the other side. So I'm going to add 2. Those cancel out, and B equals negative 1. And I'm going to use that to plug into my perpendicular equation up here just like I did. So Y equals, and remember these equations will look exactly the same except for the parts we're plugging in. So negative 1/2 X, and then I'm plugging in B, which is negative 1. And that's my equation. Now, even though this one down here and this one right there are not solved for Y, you're going to solve them the same way. You're going to plug in X and Y, and you got to solve for B. What'll be easiest if you do that is go ahead and solve those for Y. And I'm actually going to go ahead and go through those for you real quick just to make it a little easier on you. So I'm going to subtract X from both sides. and that gives me 2y equals negative x minus 3. And actually, let me clear some of this other stuff off here so it makes it a little easier for you. Hang on one second. Sorry about that. I zoomed in on 3 and 4 here just to make it a little easier for you. So again, I subtracted x from both sides. That gives me 2y equals negative x plus 3, and I just switched the order of those just so it's more like we're used to seeing. Divide by 2, and I got to divide everything by 2. So it gets me y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3/2. So going to be the exact same setup as we used before. It's just going to have some fractions in there. Remember, you got calculators, so you can use those. This just makes it easier for us to plug it in like that. That's why I'm going through those. So same down here, opposite operation. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. I've got 4y equals negative 3x plus 10. Again, just switch in the order of the negative 3x and 10 just so it's in the order we're used to seeing. I'm going to divide everything by 4. And that gives me y equals negative 3/4 x plus 5/2, and that's just simplifying 10/4. Again, you type that in your calculator, it's going to give you 2.5, and you could say 2.5 if you wanted to. That's allowed. Or you can hit math enter, and leave it as 5/2. So generally, as you're getting to math 2, math 3, math 4, whatever you're going through there, it's going to be left as an improper fraction most often, which is why I converted those theirs. If you find this video and the video that we've got posted linked on the assignment page insufficient, as well as the help videos in the folder, if you're going through all those and you're still not understanding, please don't hesitate to contact me at all, and I will be glad to help you out. So those of you looking for the other videos, they will be posted just as quick as I can after I'm getting through these. I'm trying to churn those out as fast as I can, trying to get caught up. So I appreciate y'all's patience with me. Know that I am being flexible with you guys because this is a very different situation, and I will work with you guys. All you got to do is just reach out to me, okay? So I hope all is well. I hope y'all are staying safe, staying at home, and enjoying some family time. Y'all take care.